Hello, hello, and welcome. In the spirit of starting where we're at, I'll say my name is Kendra Kunoff, and it is 10:20 a.m. where I am on the west coast of Northern California, sitting in my office. And I welcome you wherever you are, whether you are also in my Pacific Standard Time Zone or in another part of the world, whether it's morning for you, afternoon, or evening, whether you're listening with your children playing in the background or after sheltering in place all alone for a long period of time. Today is June 1st. So, this is something that I've actually talked about many, many times over the years, and it's really relevant to all circumstances in our lives. And again, welcome to those of you who are joining live, wherever you are. We're talking about the importance of starting where you are. So wherever you are, whatever part of this video you're joining at, welcome. And so I talked about it just in terms of life, right? In terms of life, one of the ways that I talk about this is I call it getting right with reality, which is really different than the idea of being stuck where you're at, even acceptance. It's more actually naming what is so. This is where I'm actually located in this particular place at this particular time. And I mean that, I like to use a physical analogy because it makes it so obvious. But it's true about where we're at in life. And it's true in terms of where we're at in our relationships, in terms of our business, in terms of our own personal growth, in terms of where we're at financially or what we've created in our lives, or, really this applies to anything in our lives. And in this particular moment, one of the ways that I've been thinking about it is it also applies to, for those of us who are wanting to do our own, whether you call it anti-racist work, decolonization, like our internalized racism, or anyway, these different pieces, really looking at like, where am I at? Where am I actually at? And anytime in any area of our life, if we come from a place of wanting to be somewhere different, pretending to be somewhere different, thinking we should be somewhere different, are really all ways of taking ourselves out of where we actually are right now. And when we don't let ourselves be where we are, it's very hard to create a roadmap to where we want to be. So a lot of times we'll couch this idea of wanting to be somewhere different, thinking we're somewhere different, pretending to ourselves or other people that we're somewhere different, thinking we should be somewhere different. We'll sort of couch it in the language of like my vision, my intention, where I want to go, that the value is really in looking like, where am I headed? But again, to bring it back to a really physical analogy, I like to say, so I live in Northern California. Most people have some idea where San Francisco or the Bay Area are. I live like 90 minutes north, but let's just pretend I'm in San Francisco, which is kind of hilarious given the topic. Actually, let's not. Let's pretend I'm exactly where I am. So I live about 90 minutes north of the Bay Area, near a small town called Sebastopol on the west coast of Northern California. But if I think I should be in San Francisco, so let's say that I'm here right near Sebastopol where I actually live, and where I want to get is, let's just say Portland, Oregon. Okay, I want to get to Portland, Oregon. But if I keep pretending like I'm in San Francisco, if I keep imagining I should be in San Francisco, if I keep telling my map system, right, which is like telling other people, or the people who are trying to help us, our coaches, our teachers, our advisors, etc. If I keep telling them I'm in San Francisco, don't worry, like I've totally got it because I'm in San Francisco because that's where I think I should be, and I'm trying to get to Portland, Oregon. The fact is, I probably will get there, and this is actually why it's partly a great analogy, is that it doesn't block us from getting there completely, because again, I'm only, I don't know, 60 miles difference north. I'm only 90 minutes north. But in terms of creating a roadmap from where I am to where I want to be, it's pretty dramatic. Like what exit I'm going to take, how I get on the highway, which direction I go on the highway, how I get to the next highway, all of those things actually are really, really different. And then at a certain point, if somehow I just fumble fuck my way and I get on the right highway, whatever it is, you know, in my car that I would have gotten on from San Francisco, but I get there from Sebastopol. At some point, it's like, okay, now I'm on track, but that's going to take a long time. It's going to be really frustrating. You know, say it's either my map system or maybe I'm like on the phone with somebody and I'm saying, please give me directions. I'm lost, and they keep trying to give me directions from San Francisco, and they're like, hey, yeah, I'm happy to help you get where you want to go. That's a great place to go. I've been there. It's super fantastic. You know, they have great food. So here, let me help you. But they keep telling me as though I'm in San Francisco, and I keep going like, that's not working. And they're getting frustrated. And it's like, they can't really help unless I say, oh, actually, you know, I was lying to myself, or I didn't want to tell you that I was actually in Sebastopol. I thought I should be in San Francisco already. That seemed like the cooler place to be. Like, who knows that it's really not going to work for me to get where I want to go. So this also plays out with things like our relationships. If I keep telling, you know, if I keep both telling myself and maybe telling the world like, oh my God, you know, like we're just so happy and everything's really great. And all those problems we had in the past, like, I'm so glad we're over them. You know, we really healed all our issues and now it's great. And basically then I can't, but if where I want to get is somewhere, I can't get there if I keep pretending that I'm not where I am. And it doesn't mean like, oh my God, my relationship's fucked up and it's horrible either. It's just like, oh, this is the truth of what's beautiful. And this is the truth of what's challenging. And this is like the one fight we keep having, or this is this dynamic that keeps happening. If I'm unwilling to just tell the truth about that's where I'm actually at, or that's where we're actually at, then I, or the people around me, or the people that I ask for help or guidance can actually help me create a roadmap to where I want to go. But the more that I keep either thinking that I should be somewhere different or kind of lying to them because I'm embarrassed or ashamed about it, the less that they can actually help me create the roadmap from the actual place that I am. This is true in our business as well. If we're not willing to say like, I don't know how to do this, or I'm really good at this, right? If I keep, this actually was something that I did for a good year, is that I kept going to people for help, and then it didn't really work. And then I finally was like, I'm actually really good at that. I don't know why I'm asking other people's opinion. So it doesn't always look like pretending to be quote unquote somewhere better. But if we don't tell the truth about where we're at in general, it still blocks us from being able to move forward. So I was actually withholding, and I was withholding the truth from myself first, was that I wasn't actually being honest with myself and then with other people, that I was actually really good at running my business and at making certain decisions and knowing what was the next right step for my business. And then there were other things that I wanted help with. So I kept going to people and being like, I'm just not good at this part of the business and I don't know what to do here. And then they would give me advice and I'd be like, yeah, that's not right. And I would do it my way. And then I'd be like, yeah, my way's right. And so I mean, I kind of wasted a lot of time. I wasted a fair bit of money asking for people for help that I didn't need, because I was like, oh, that part actually I am really good at for my own business. And I saw this with a friend of mine too recently around supporting with protests, anti-racism work, etc., was that we were checking in with each other and she was having a hard time. And then I checked in with her a day later and she's like, actually, I got my feet back under me and I remembered, I know how to do this. I've been doing this work for 20 years and I actually know what to do. I have tools and I have resources. And she was looking at a lot of what was coming through like her social media feed and applying it to herself when she was actually much farther along her path of knowing how to protest and knowing how to support protesters and knowing how to like farther along in her anti-racism work and in her decolonization and in these various pieces of work, she was actually farther along than she was acknowledging to herself. And so it got her in this funk rather than like, oh no, I'm actually over here. And now I know what to do next. Like in this next wave of things, I know what to do. And so it's not always just that we're pretending that we're like trying to pretend to be farther along. Sometimes we're also sort of pretending to not be as far along as we are. But absolutely, right now, there are many of us who, particularly in the realm of being non-Black and especially being white or white identifying, that we want to be farther along in eradicating racism in ourselves. We want to be not racist. We want our society to be not racist. We want this to have been healed. We'd like to believe that, et cetera, et cetera. But when we're unwilling to actually admit where we're at right now, oh, this is how I have unconscious racial bias. This is where I've actually behaved racially or racistly. I don't know if that's a word. This is where I have benefited from white privilege. This is where I still benefit from the system. These are the ways in which I'm a little bit afraid for the system to be completely eradicated because I would lose this. This is what scares me about this process. If we're unwilling to say, this is where I am right now, we cannot draw an accurate roadmap to where we want to be. We have to be willing to say, and not even just like I'm in San Francisco rather than in Sebastopol, and not even like I'm on the corner of, Divisadero and Geary, but to name like I'm standing on this spot with this piece of graffiti and this rock right here and this lamppost, to actually get at a nuance, like where am I actually at? When I pick up this rock, what is underneath it? And what's to the left of me and what's to the right of me? And in that way, then we can, someone can say, oh, you need to make a 30-degree turn to the right and then cross that street and then go here and then here, and really give us step-by-step instructions for how to get where we want to go. And if we're unwilling to name the spot that we are actually living in right now, in real time, we can't build our own roadmap. Others can't help us see the roadmap. And honestly, I think that's why it takes us so fucking long, because we're just lost. We're like driving around and around. People are trying to say, oh, go this way. But we've actually been unwilling to name where we truly are. And then just to this last piece is that from where we are, right, we could get all the way across the street. We could get it, like if our car is across the street and then we need directions to get on the Golden Gate Bridge, right? If we can't even get across the street because we've been unwilling to name where we are and let somebody walk us across the street, we can't even get in our car. But what we want to do is pretend that we're already, 60 miles south. And so that's the thing about taking small steps from where we actually are will always be more effective than our idea, these supposed giant leaps from somewhere that we're not. So if I'm like, oh, well, maybe I still have some unconscious racist bias, racial bias, but I've done a lot of work unpacking and blah, blah, blah. If I'm trying to pretend I'm somewhere else because I want to take whatever the next big leap is, rather than going like, oh, this is where I am actually, I don't like this about myself, but I'm clinging to a certain kind of white privilege because I still like the goodies it gets me. If I'm unwilling to admit that and then take the next smallest step because I'm trying to take the big leap, but I'm pretending I'm somewhere else, I can never take that big leap because I haven't been willing to just say, this is actually where I am. What is the exact next step? And then from there, what is the next step? And just one foot in front of the other. And again, this is a particular place that we are right now in the world, especially in the United States of America, in time and what have you, but this is applicable to our intimate relationships, to how we run our business, to how we look at our lives, to how, like any part of our lives, if we want to shift, we have to be willing to acknowledge where we are in specificity, exactly where we are, not 5 feet to the right, not 60 miles south, not, like where really, really truthfully am I? So that I can take just the next small step. And in that way, begin what is hopefully a long and beautiful journey. Sending you so much love exactly where you are, and courage for whatever is the exact next right step for you.